Good morning and welcome to SafeDefend Live. I am Dave Evans with Rusty Russell, our great voice from SafeDefend. Today we're going to talk about what's going on in the school community, what they're buying, and the challenge they're addressing. So SafeDefend has a philosophy of prepare, notify, protect.
Hmm.
And what we're seeing with a lot of these solutions that schools are taking on right now after the recent events is that they're only notifying. They're not addressing the issues of prepare and protect. So today we're going to talk about what science says, what after action reports have said, and then what you can do to get your schools to get a solution that will actually prepare, notify, and protect your children. How's that sound, Rusty?
Absolutely. SafeDefend is still the most comprehensive system on the market today, and you hit it. I mean, we help prepare the staff with practical training. We provide that instant notification. Then we give them secure tools, to stop the bleed and keep the threat out in the hallway. But I think the biggest thing that we do, as opposed to some of the options out there, is all three of those, and really we can provide peace of mind to the staff and the parents, knowing that the teacher has a plan in place for the unthinkable. And the other good thing that we do for staff members is we can empower them to have a way to keep the threat out in the hallway when they get that notification. So, yeah, we've seen a lot of. I've been with SafeDefend now coming up on 8 years, and I have seen a lot of companies come and go, and that tells us that people are looking for answers, but we have a solution. And we can't, like we've said all the time, we can't stop these tragedies from happening. But we can certainly, with a company like SafeDefend, we can certainly mitigate the loss of life. And that's why I get out of bed every morning and come do this.
Outstanding. So let's do this. I'm going to jump into the Virginia Tech review findings from the shooting there a few years ago because it's very interesting and it kind of verifies and validates what we just said. I'm going to read two paragraphs, so bear with me because I think it's important. This is a key finding from the report. The emergency response plan at Virginia Tech was deficient in several respects. It did not include provisions for a shooting scenario and did not place police high enough in the emergency decision-making hierarchy. It also did not include a threat assessment team, and the plan was out of date. The protocol for sending emergency message in use on April 16th was cumbersome, untimely, and problematic when a decision was needed as soon as possible. The police did not have the capability to send an emergency alert message on their own. So right there, prepare and notify epic failures on the school there. And I'm not busting on Virginia Tech. Don't get mad at me for this. This is what we're talking about. This is the stuff we see every day
Right.
when schools take simple solutions and don't look at prepare, teachers train your students, train your teachers, train your police force integrated. A threat assessment. What does it look like? Do we have an A team going in there and seeing if they can get into school and what happens in a nonviolent manner to see what's open and what's not? How easy it is to get through security, right? Yeah, you have the teacher at the desk in front and parents get the badge, they sign in. Those are good people, right? Bad people aren't going to follow that process.
Right.
And then finally, communication. The communication solutions, let's talk fire alarms. If there's a fire in a building, everybody knows what to do. There's a big box on the wall close by you, you pull the box. For an active shooting scenario, we have thousands of different solutions. There is no one standard for an active solution. And folks, I love applications. I'm a geek and a half, but when somebody's shooting at you, trying to find an app, I mean, I have 100 applications on my phone. Trying to find an app on my phone is not going to be the easiest thing to do. So let's talk about some of the tools that are out there and challenges we see and how we can give a standardized solution which helps the industry and schools protect people under their guard.
Right. I think it's so frustrating to see what happens. It's kind of like the Monday morning quarterback, the knee-jerk reaction by school districts when there's a tragedy, or more importantly, from politicians. Let's just get something passed. Let's just go with the easiest and quickest thing we can think of to make everybody feel good. Okay, we've seen this time and time again, and when it comes to life safety devices and plans, having a plan in place for the unthinkable and so forth, we can do much better. I think one of the interesting things about the phone apps and all that is, in a crisis, you lose your fine motor skills, right? If I'm stressed and I'm in a crisis in that moment, like you said, which app was it? What numbers do I push? So all these devices, the lavaliers, the different push button things, um, they're not secured devices. You have a lot of false alarms with those systems. And the other thing with the apps is compliance. The compliance rate with apps goes down to less than 10% after 1 year. So another thing that's been a problem with some of the devices we've seen with, maybe a button or something that I have on my person or wear around my neck is they have batteries in them. Those go bad. People don't remember about them. They can't remember how many times to push. They can't remember the number to open up their phone to set the alarm off with their app. That's why with SafeDefend, we keep it simple. With just the touch of a finger, everything's put into place. There's no fine motor skills. And within 3 seconds, everybody's getting our text and email alert. 911 dispatch is notified. And then, of course, you have the secured items in the safety cabinet that empowers that staff member, that teacher, to protect not only themselves, but their kids in their classroom. And as you know, we never ask our teachers or staff members, or if it's a place of business, we never ask them to go after the bad guy. But that's law enforcement's job. But they can certainly have the ability to keep that threat out in the hallway, or be able to have first aid and trauma response there when they need it. I've done different risk assessments with some of our team, and we've gone to different facilities or hotels, and they're real proud about having their go bag or their devices, their tape or a hammer, different things secured in a bag. But then they go to show us and take inventory, and things aren't there. That's the other good thing about the SafeDefend safety cabinet is all those tools that we provide that empowers the staff to do something is secured. And again, a lot of the apps and things, they're not controlled access. I forgot my key fob. The intruder gets a hold of your device, and it's very confusing, right? And that's why we keep it simple.
See, this is what I love. This is what I love about the whole discussion. So I flew airplanes in the Air Force for a long time, and this just resonates boldface to me, right? When you're flying an airplane, there's a critical action, it's boldface, because you get rid of the fine motor skills, and you have to take a boldface test every month. So let's say I lose an engine before takeoff velocity in a 707, right? I have a boldface. It's called a BORT. Brakes max, throttle, idle, speed, brake up. I haven't flown that plane in 11 years now. 11, and I still know my boldface, right? A fire alarm. If there's a fire in your building, you have a boldface. Pull the fire alarm. Simple. You train to that. You have fire drills to train to that. An active shooter or targeted violence event is a boldface item. And until schools and our community start treating it as such and understand this is something we're going to test every month, we're going to have our boldface. If there's an active shooter, what do? For SafeDefend, I trigger the box with the press of my finger. That's your boldface. Right. And it's inherently ingrained into you because when bad things happen, when you're going 100 miles an hour in a large airplane down a runway with lots of fuel on it and an engine blows up, you don't have time to think about what happened, right? Mm-hmm. Brakes max, throttle, idle, speed, brake up. You know exactly and you do it, and you repeatedly do it until it becomes ingrained in you. I mean, Rusty, I flew tweets in 1995. I can still tell you the spin boldface. Idle, neutral, spinning left, knee left, stick full forward, full offshore, stick full forward, recover from the dive. To this day, that was ingrained in me 20 years ago.
Right.
Why do our teachers not have a simple solution without a bunch of crazy cool gadgets to protect our children? I don't get it.
Right.
I don't get it.
I think it's kind of along the line, the least path of resistance. What's easy. It's human nature to take that sometimes, and it doesn't make it right. That's where I've had great response working with local law enforcement and legislators that are now very interested in what SafeDefend does here. And we want to expand that footprint nationwide. And just the things that we do, like you said, prepare, notify, protect. You were mentioning about testing and those automatic reflexes, and that's due to being prepared and having proper practical training. We've come up with another device that we put in the teacher's lounge called an enrollment training station. And it doesn't set the system off, but it helps that staff member. Oh yeah, that's the SafeDefend system. I'm going to make sure I'm in the system, and it's controlled access. So it's just a good remembrance, or getting those folks used to what the system's about. And another great thing that we do, along with a lot of our schools and places of business and factories and hospitals and so forth, where we have our system, is we really encourage drilling and having tests. You can take our system offline. You can just do a test to make sure everybody has the correct cell number, email, and so forth. And then we bring in law enforcement and we do our drills locally with law enforcement, so they can see how fast the 911 dispatch goes out along with the notification to themselves. So we've really created something that's like nothing else out there. And I think that's what angers me, when people, after an event, things are done that aren't necessarily the right thing. They're just doing things to try to put everybody's mind at ease. And even though it might not be the best thing, they're doing it anyway. And so that's where we got to come in. So we've seen, like I said, we've seen over the years a lot of the apps, a lot of the schools and businesses that have tried things. I commend them for doing something, but we find that they end up coming to us after these things have failed 6 months, a year later, due to those things of having false alarms, compliance issues. Oh, I forgot to upload that last month. Oh, well, I won't worry about it. We haven't had a shooter here. So those are all important things: controlled access that we can provide, and just that instant notification, then providing the tools to empower our staff to protect their kids.
So you guys have a Boldface process, right? You recommend monthly training and recertification on the system every month, a Boldface test every month,
Right.
just like the best pilots in the world do, right? So that's awesome. But here's the best part. So you mentioned the apps and human error. There's a report from the United Kingdom that talks about key principles in managing human failure. And it says, number one, human failure is normal and predictable. It can be identified and managed. Industry should tackle error reduction in a structured and proactive way with as much rigor as the technical aspects of safety. Managing human failure should be integral to the safety management system. If you do not have a process and you do not train to it, you cannot execute. People will fail. It has been proven time and time again. It's not that they're bad people. It's not that there's anything wrong with them. It is our nature. We are not perfect. And the only way to be perfect is to make it simple and repeatable. And my perspective, working with SafeDefend over the last few months and understanding your system and how it works, that is exactly what you do, because it's simple. You put your finger on the reader, the box opens, you follow the process, and you're trained in that process. The threat assessment is done, the school is laid out, the boxes are placed, and we give teachers tools and the confidence to use those tools when we need to. I mean, let's talk about it. Somebody's trying to open a door, there's a baton there, they can hit their hand. There's pepper spray in the kit to keep people away from their kids. If something happens, there's tourniquets and blood clotting agents there to save our children, right? To save lives in there. And when things recover, there's a safety vest for the teacher to wear so the first responders know that they're not a threat and they don't accidentally get caught in the fog and friction of what's going on, because it gets chaotic, right? So we're giving teachers the tool. We're preparing the tool. We're preparing the teachers with the systems. We give them a notification system, which is not only through the telephone, but the broadcast alert system and direct calls to 911, which follows the law, which is required by law. We're also giving our teachers the ability to protect their classroom without going after the bad person, right? Those are the things that we need to get excited about as Americans that want to protect children. Prepare, notify, protect. If it doesn't fit those three, then it's not the right system for your school.
Right. Yeah. I just think back to when we started this company, thinking about, what is it that we're doing? What do we do? We help save lives when seconds count. How do we do that? We prepare, we notify, we protect. So SafeDefend is really, like I said, the most comprehensive system out there. We're basically a crisis management, harm mitigation, rapid response solution. It's that simple. And it all starts with a simple touch of a finger when there's a threat. So I think what we have seen over the years, what I personally have seen when I've worked with our clients, is that we've been maybe the missing link, or that part that they needed We can enhance. I mean, and I've worked with some very highly secured facilities here in the local area, and they have everything you can imagine. But it was the SafeDefend system and what we can do and provide that was what they were missing. So if you have a system out there, and trust me, I'm so glad that a lot of our schools have done things. Perimeter security is good, but 95, 96% of the active shooters in our schools come from within. So those things like metal detectors do not work in a school setting. The bad guys, the kid's going to go and leave the backpack outside the gymnasium door. They'll go through the gauntlet and then, whatever. So the threat always comes from within, but I think it's just enhancing what schools or businesses currently have in place is what we can help with. And you talked about assessments. We're always happy to go out and do a site visit. I've worked with a couple of school districts in the past where they didn't even have door locks, or the locks that they had, the teacher had to go outside the classroom with their key and lock the key and then lock the door and then pull it shut and then go back in and keep the kids safe. If it's something as simple as just getting a simple door that locks from the inside, do that first. If that's all you have for your budget, do that first and then come to us and we'll help you with the rest. So we are available to do risk threat assessments. And again, if there's different types of training that you don't have, or if you've, a lot of the local law enforcement over the years have been inundated with training, but we do a different training. We do more of a practical training, that situational awareness and those things. So anyway, we have a lot to offer. We just don't have one little dangly device that is only going to notify folks, and that's it. That our system is secured, and it works. It's hardwired, right? It's not an app that we're relying on, outside. It's like the fire alarm, right?
It's human error, right? If I don't update my app, right, and I'm a human and I have 1,000 apps on my phone, then and something happens, it doesn't work. And if I don't have the batteries checked in my key fob that I'm going to press, and I'm not doing that on a regular basis, it's not going to work. I mean, we've got to reduce the failure points in this process because it's a boldface item. There is no allowance for failure in a boldface. I can tell you, flying airplanes, if you bust your boldface, you couldn't fly. You had to be reevaluated. You were grounded. I mean, there was no leeway for that. And when we're talking about protecting kids, we need to develop that boldface for schools. Prepare, notify, protect. And what does that mean? What are the steps in that they have to have? And then I'm going to challenge the schools right now. Dave Evans, as a parent, is going to challenge the schools right now. You have some training time this summer with your teachers. I challenge you to get with your local police department. Don't even call us. Local police department. Walk through an active shooter scenario with your teachers and the police. No students. And look at review your plan, walk through it with the police, and then find the holes in your plan and fix them.
Right.
And fix them before school starts. Do the right thing about the kids that are under your care, because teachers, you have the hardest job in the world, and we love you for what you do. We really do. And I, as a parent, I challenge your superintendent and your principals to do the right thing and take care of you, so you can take care of those kids. Because I know your heart breaks whenever this happens, as ours do. So schools, get that assessment done with your local police department. If you need help from SafeDefend, call us. We'll have people there to help you, okay? We're going to make sure it's done right. If you want to come look at the system and see what it does, we're more than happy to help. And we have a crawl, walk, run philosophy at SafeDefend. So first, let's do the assessment. Next, let's talk about what training we do without the system that will help you get your teachers ready. And then finally, when you're ready to put a system in that protects your kids, we're there for you. And you need to remember that, because prepare, notify, protect is what's going to keep our kids safe day in and day out.
We talk all the time. We focus on schools because that's how we started. How do we get law enforcement here quicker? How do we protect our kids? But we have our system in libraries, city agencies, government buildings, hospitals, factories, plants. We just did a training earlier this week in a company here not too far from us that builds trucks. So all these things, we spend all the time talking about schools, but we're much more than that. And for anybody today, I would encourage you to talk to your HR department, your operations people, your safety person. What's your plan in your place of work? What are you going to do if something happened? And I would also ask, really contact your local legislators, your state and federal folks. They want to hear from you on these issues. This is very important. And like I said, I have had amazing support and response from some of our local folks here that have actually come to our world headquarters here to see the system and see what we can do. And it's important. No longer are the days, when you and I grew up that, you take your shotgun out of your car and put it in the locker room before 2 days. That's
Hey, you had a duck hunt in the morning. Come on, there's nothing wrong with that.
What's that?
Um,
Yeah,
duck hunting season all the time, man.
that's right. Nice.
So, well, and I'm going to share a personal story that I haven't shared. The shooting in Tulsa, both of my nieces are nurses at that hospital where that shooting occurred 2 weeks ago. And there was a very, very brave Army first sergeant that held the door shut, so the gunman couldn't get in and do more damage. He ended up dying in the incident. But they had nothing in that doctor's office facility across from the hospital that protected or notified the police. It was utter chaos, honestly.
Wow.
The Tulsa police did a great job. All the responders did a great job because they didn't have any tools. I mean, they really didn't have a lot to go on. And if you're a large hospital, if you're a large business with a number of employees, if you're a small business, it really is worth the money to put a system in that can protect your people. I mean, the first thing I did when I heard about it was text my nieces, "Are you guys okay?" Because I didn't know if the fog and friction of communication, I didn't know which building it was at the hospital. I didn't know if it was where they worked. I didn't know anything. And I was fearful for their lives, right? And this is a common occurrence for nurses and hospitals. They're getting attacked every day by patients. There are going to be more and more of these incidents because people are frustrated and worn out over the pandemic and everything else. We have to put things in place to protect those employees who are trying to save lives.
Right. Yeah, it's all too common, and we only see a small percentage on the evening news. A lot of these events are happening, and if they don't fit the narrative of the day or the news cycle, they don't get reported. So we're here to help. Reach out to us at SafeDefend.com. We'd be happy to help. However, see what you need, what the needs are, and how we can enhance what you currently have in place. And again, I just harp on this so many times. We can provide peace of mind for you and your staff, knowing that you have a plan in place for the unthinkable, because I get so tired of hearing it won't happen here. Just like you were talking about what happened recently there. So it can happen. It's better to have a plan in place and have a way to communicate and notify in seconds, not minutes. We don't have time to vet a 911 call. I think the average 911 call lasts 90 seconds, but our system can communicate all that in 3. So
that's a fact. So Rusty, it's back to school. Boldface SafeDefend needs to be that solution. It needs to be standardized across the country, right? Let's start talking about back to school Boldface to protect our kids. I think it's important. And thank you everybody for watching and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Again, like Rusty said, reach out at rusty@safedefend.com. Go to safedefend.com, or come visit us in Kansas City. We would love to see you. With that, Rusty and Dave with SafeDefend, we are out of here.
All right. Thanks, Dave.